Why is a solution to the patriarchy for women to become men and become masculine, to become the energy that destroyed them and suppressed them? Why is it the answer? The answer should be to empower the feminine energy that's been suppressed. The patriarchy wants to suppress female sexual energy. Female sexual energy is the ability to create art, to birth joyous, loving, artistic expression. That force is what the patriarchy wants to destroy. It actually wants you to be men. The patriarchy doesn't care if you're a man or woman, it just wants you to be masculine. So if you're a woman saying, fuck men, they can do these things, I want to do them too, you're just feeding into the same beast. However, if you empower your female sexual energy by creating life, creating art, creating beauty, you're fighting that energy. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of the New Age Sage podcast. Today we're going to be talking about an aspect of romance, that dating in life that isn't very well understood, sadly, by many people. And I have a theory that I've been unpacking and thinking about a lot recently that I think could open the eyes of a lot of people, especially women and men, hopefully. And the topic is one that it may seem I should know nothing about, but this information comes from a lot of channeling and studying various psychology books and analyzing mythology in a way to reveal the answer to this question, which is, what is female sexual energy? What is it? How does it impact the woman? What are ways it manifests as good or bad? And I think this is a deep question to think about in modern day nowadays, because the common perception of female sexual energy is what we perceive to be just sex, lust, physicality, essentially, suggestiveness, ass cheeks out, boobs out. When someone's exuding sex in a woman, you often think of one who's there's a bulge in their chest, and they have a nice body, they're being seductive and flirtatious. And I'm here to say that that's not really what female sexual energy is about. That's actually the opposite of what it should be. And again, I'm not shaming anyone who does that. It's just, let me cook here. So essentially, so this podcast will answer that question of okay, if that's not what female sexual energy really is, what is it? What does it mean when a woman's sexual energy is fully turned on? And why is that important? Why should a woman's sexual energy be turned on? Okay, I'm going to discuss how this, the way I come up with podcasts is I love, and I'm well versed in analyzing mythology in books, movies, songs, whatever it may be. I believe those are dreams per se, symbolically, to show us the answers of what our psyche needs to heal and integrate. And I was watching this movie called Pleasantville, which triggered the desire to do this podcast. And the plot is that there's Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon are teenagers in the modern 90s, I think, where there's this youthful revolt and people's angst and anger and for the teenagers in society. And what occurs is the Tobey Maguire, the younger son, is obsessed with a 1950s TV show in black and white, where everything seems dandy and fine. Everyone's perfect. The women are perfect. Everyone's dressed perfectly. The women are not showing their anything. Everything's very put in order, and there's no chaos at all. It's very ordered. And he's so obsessed that he basically finds this genie who puts him in the show with his sister. So he enters the show, and he begins living the show. And then he enters black and white, and you realize quickly that this ordered society is just very masculine and patriarchal. What the patriarchy essentially is to subdue and control the expression of the people to meet the needs of what the patriarchal figures need to hold on to power. And that was a system per se, and the kid quickly realized, this is not what I want to experience. This is weird. People have no character. There's no anima. There's no liveliness. There's no beauty. And going to my original point about female sexuality, what actually breaks that pattern is the younger daughter, Reese Witherspoon, starts showing other women, hey, it's okay to be sexual, right? And the minute that the female sexual energy started arising, the whole town gained color. So the minute that the trigger for the town coming to color and putting down the patriarchal control was the female sexual energy awakening in the populace. Okay, so what does that mean? Why does female sexual energy create color in the world and destroy the patriarchal control of subduing our expressive nature? Okay? I believe that once female sexual energy comes online individually, it is the most powerful force in the world for everyone. The minute female sexual energy is subdued and pushed down is the minute patriarchal control comes to the horizon of society, and we live in what we perceive now to be a completely suppressed, oppressive reality where the feminine has no way to express herself. Okay. I will showcase why it's the case. That why female sexual energy being open, liberated, and free is the way to find salvation in this society, and why that creates color and beauty and liveliness in the world. But and women know this. So that's why the sexual revolution was a big moving point in many of the fights against patriarchy. But is that what's really happening nowadays? Like, is is female sexual energy in the sexual revolution limited to OnlyFans modeling, Instagram pictures that are very suggestive, wearing clothing that's incredibly revealing? Is that what this is? Is that what breaks away the control of men in the patriarchy? And that I don't think that's the answer. Again, I'm not do whatever you want. I don't think it's right or wrong necessarily, but is it? Is that what female sexual energy coming online and awakening really is? Is it that? Because that's what society thinks it is, but it's not. Okay. So I'm going to begin this podcast after this introduction I just did, explaining what the divine feminine really is, right? Because to tap into what female sexual energy at its core and its real healthy expression is, I have to begin by explaining what the divine feminine is, right? Because divine feminine sexual energy is very different to shadow. We can all accept, whether you think I'm sexist or not, there is dark sexual energy in men and women. So I have to first explain what is the lighter, brighter, divine form of that sexuality that I've studied and learned from my years of being a student of this energetic exchange. Okay. Essentially, the divine feminine is the force in all of us, men included, that loves ourselves exactly as we are. Once, let's use a woman in this example, sits down and looks in the mirror and sees herself and says, I love myself exactly who I am. I don't need lip fillers. I don't need Botox. I don't need a boob job. I love myself exactly as I am. That is the divine feminine. Self-unconditional love is the divine feminine. Okay. So, once a woman feels that in her body, that energy exudes outwards. When you're around a woman who truly loves herself exactly as she is, you can feel that love. And that's the divine feminine gift, is that beautiful woman internally then touches the hearts and tenderness of the people around her. That's what awakens a truly divine feminine woman who loves herself exactly as she is, awakens the love in the hearts of people because they feel the energy of unconditional love, and then they can start feeling that in their body. So that's the gift the divine feminine gives to the world. And to get there, she exists in her body. She loves her body. She's in her body because the body is a feminine. The mind critiques, analyzes, controls, directs, fixes. The heart allows and receives and is in the body. When a woman loves herself unconditionally, she's in the body because the body just is. She's present. She's in a state of love. And once she's loving herself as she is, she's in her body, not thinking, controlling, and fixing reality constantly. She can now be in a position to receive life into her as she is, right? So she loves herself as she is. She's in her body, and she's receiving life as it comes to her. That is connected to sex. Let me explain here. In sex, sorry to sound pornographic and explicit, the penis penetrates the vagina. Okay, that's a fact. That's a fact. That's what sex is. Okay, so symbolically, the woman is receiving the man. Whether she wants to, accept that or, assault is a very different story. But in a consensual exchange, the woman is receiving the penetration of the man. She then receives that penetration and transmutes it as orgasmic joy. So penetration, life force energy, I transmute it into joyous orgasmic expression. that symbolizes the divine feminine and female sexual energy, which is, I receive life as it comes to me with the vibration of love. I transmute it into a joyous orgasmic experience. When you meet a woman who's truly beautifully feminine, she is receiving life as it comes to her, making love to it, and expressing it with joyous gratitude. That's a feminine woman. You see a woman stereotypically frolicking in the grass, dancing, being happy. She's receiving life with full force, accepting it and transmuting it into joy. That is female sexual energy. Receiving life as it comes to you and dancing with it and transmuting it as a joyous experience and exchange. That is female sexual energy. Once a woman can receive life as it's coming to her, trust it, dance with it, play with it, her feminine sexual energy is fully unlocked. Okay. Now, this is where things get important. Once a woman can trust life and receive life with the energy of unconditional love for herself, she then can use the experience of life to create a joyous artistic expression. Or not, or sad, whatever she's feeling, right? So the logical equation, the sequence goes essentially, I receive the flow of life. I turn it into orgasmic love and joy, and I express my soul from that place. The birthing process itself is a perfect metaphor for what I'm saying. Male life force, penetrate. Literal life, semen, enters egg, fertilizes, stews, transmutes into a baby, baby comes out. Okay? That's a symbol. That's a very powerful symbol for what the divine feminine sexual energy is. I receive the penetration of life as it's coming to me. I let it stew and create certain emotions in my body. Those emotions then can be transmuted into an expression of my artistic soul. That is female sexual energy. Receiving life as it's coming to you, no matter what it is, horrible, amazing, beautiful, depraved, receiving life as it's coming to you, letting it stew in the body, feeling it, and then transmuting it as artistic expression. That is female sexual energy. Female sexual energy is the ability to receive life, stew with it in the body, feel it, and then create and transmute it into artistic expression. That's a divine feminine and it exists in all of us. Why does this energy in the movie and in life create this revolutionary force against dull, structured, ordered, repressive, masculine energy? Why is this a solution? Creating from the energy of unconditional love is the artistic revolution. When you have the freedom in your body to feel life as it comes to you, process it, and create, that is the artist's way. And when art fully becomes online in life, music, your expression, even your speaking, painting, photographs, when that energy comes online, that artistic, beautiful expression destroys the patriarchal society because a super ordered, disciplined, repressive, structured, hateful society is not going to tolerate beautiful art and beautiful expression and songs and dance and joy and livelihood. That force is what the society wants to oppress. Yes, patriarchy wants to suppress women, but it more so wants to suppress the feminine energy that creates art, creates beauty, creates life. That's why in the movie, when the female sexual energy came online, everything moved from black and white to color, because female sexual empowerment is about the process of creation and using our creative gifts to birth beauty and livelihood and loving energy into society. Okay, to summarize what I just said, it's a lot. Female sexual energy, divine female sexual energy, is the ability to receive life, transmute it into a joyous, orgasmic, beautiful experience. Now, it's not for me to say, and to use that transmutation to create art, to create expression, to sing, to dance, to play. Now, to get specific in this, your caveat to this could very well be, well, I can't always be joyous. That's a ludicrous expectation. Yeah, for sure. However, any emotion, dark, amazing, bad, depraved, becomes beautiful once it's turned into art. The most beautiful paintings come from the most sorrowful emotions. And that's the divine feminine energy. I receive whatever life gives me, even if it's horrible, right? Let's say, you truly at a place in your divine feminine energy where you trust and receive life, and a bad situation comes. Your ego gets crushed. You get your heart broken. You lose a friend. You lose a pet. You receive it. You let it stew in your body, and then you express it through your soul in dance, play, art. That bad, quote unquote, bad thing has now become beautiful because your divine feminine energy transmuted it into beauty. That female sexual energy took in what life gave it and transmuted it as beautiful art, right? That's what the divine feminine energy, the divine feminine sexual energy, is the most beautiful force in the world because it transmutes chaos, yuckiness, the dark side of the masculine energy, transmutes it and feels it into beautiful artistic expression. The divine feminine takes the darkness that life gives her and she sings and dances. It doesn't mean she doesn't feel the darkness, but she ends up transmuting it as a joyous experience, right? That's the gift of the female sexual energy. I receive life and I transmute it, no matter what it gives me, into beautiful artistic expression. Okay. And this force is what empowers the world, right? Female sexual empowerment is being taught to us as letting women be promiscuous, be suggestive in their dressing, and basically do things that men can do that women can't do. And I get that. I'm not shaming anyone who does that. I understand it. I understand why it's a point on the path for almost every woman. However, is it truly the correct fight to fight men by becoming men? If you're a woman and you want to fight the patriarchy, why would you fight that by becoming men, right? You're basically becoming the energy that destroyed you. If you say fuck men, fuck patriarchy, I want to get away with things that they usually do. Sure, that's a valid point, but you're becoming men. And if that's an experience you want, great, but that's not the solution. Why is a solution to the patriarchy for women to become men and become masculine and become the energy that destroyed them and suppressed them? Why is it the answer? The answer should be to empower the feminine energy that's been suppressed. The patriarchy wants to suppress female sexual energy. Female sexual energy is the ability to create art, to birth joyous, loving, artistic expression. That force is what the patriarchy wants to destroy. It actually wants you to be men. It wants that energy of masculinity to be. The patriarchy doesn't care if you're a man or woman. It just wants you to be masculine. So if you're a woman saying, I fuck men, they can do these things, I want to do them too, you're just feeding into the same beast. However, if you empower your female sexual energy by creating life, creating art, creating beauty, you're fighting that energy. Okay. I'm going to now express and showcase why that part I just introduced of sexual energy being limited for women to lust, to being lustful, being suggestive in their clothing, being promiscuous, being just physical, like very physical and hot. Why that's not what I mean by female sexual energy and why it's misleading. So, the energy I just described, which is receiving the life force that life gives you, transmuting it into artistic expression and creating from that place, that's not for anyone else. That's for myself. A woman who is truly in her divine female sexual energy is processing that force inside herself and creating art with it for her own expression. She's not doing it for anyone else, right? The lustful physical sexual energy is for the validation of men or other women, whatever you're attracted to. Is that what divine sexual energy is? Is being lustful, being promiscuous, being physically suggestive for the validation of men? Is that really what the divine feminine sexual energy and divine mother wants for you? Is that really what it is? Okay, let's get into this. As I explained over and over again, divine feminine sexual energy is a force of unconditional love that gives birth to creative expression. Okay, that's as succinctly as I can put it. That fact is entirely antithetical to sexual energy simply being receiving the lust of men. Like, how can those two things be remotely how can they coincide remotely? That's just like they're two very separate things. So why is female sexual energy not about lustful men and receiving their validation? Let me unpack this. When your sexual energy as a woman becomes a vehicle to get the lustful validation of men, you are handing them the keys to your self-worth and meaning. You need their validation sexually to feel whole. So your sexual energy is now leaky because you're now needing a man to say you're sexy or hot to feel empowered. That is a game with no end in sight because that hole will never be filled, right? And even symbolically speaking, it's literally being filled by men. Like female sexual energy is an internal spiritual beauty. When you externalize it and place it onto men, you now need to feel that same energy. You have to then get men to literally fill a hole constantly, and that's what leads to mass promiscuity. Which is, again, I'm not trying to be a Christian fucking shamer here. Do it whatever the fuck you want. I'm just trying to make a philosophical point here that when you as a woman need the validation of men sexually to feel whole, that is a empty, vacuous, vapious, I don't know the word here, reality that will never end. And it will only end, it ends for women. I've met very, very promiscuous women who heal themselves when they realize that, holy shit, I've been giving men the keys to my self-worth and my validation for years and years and years. I can't do this. When a woman stops being promiscuous, it's because she realizes no man can give me the unconditional love and creative life force energy that I can give myself. And once that woman's in that place, that's sustainable forever, right? But women who need the man to give that to them, it's an outsourcing, leaky sexual energy that is not coming from them, and they can't radiate this divine feminine sexual energy. Another point here is, if your self-worth and self-love is dependent on male validation, how can you ever truly create beauty, create art from a place of complete self-love? Think about that. If you want to create the most beautiful art coming from your own self-love that creates this mass beauty for the world, how can that ever be a possibility if your self-worth is requires men to validate you? You can't create beautiful art, man or woman, if your self-worth depends on receiving validation. I'll call myself out. I used to only do this shit to get hot girls. I'm not fucking with you. And part of me still does. And whenever I'm operating from that place, my art gets fucked. If right now I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, this podcast I'm doing, man, a girl's gonna think I'm this enlightened guy who understands female sex. My art is fucked. I'm not creating from a place of needing validation that taints my artistic expression. Think about that. Like, if you're a woman and you're only doing things in life to get male validation, is your highest soul, your most highest form of love, expressing itself in the art, or is it tainted? When you do things for male validation, that divine feminine sexual life force in you gets tainted by the male gaze per se, to do things for them. So your sexual energy should be about your own self-love and own creative process, not needing someone else to give it to you and then creating things for them, okay? Women who have quote-unquote sexual energy don't really have that. And again, I'm being stereotypical. Just hear me out. I made this point earlier, but let's say you are at a restaurant and there's a waitress who, bends over, her chest is out, her lips are pouty, she's giving you this gaze of just like this lust and oozing sexuality. And you and the table, your friends, like, oh my god, that woman is just sex on a stick. What is that? When you say a woman or waitress, for this example, is sex on a stick, what does that mean? It means that what is that? She is physically exuding your lust. Okay? Her presence, her eroticism is receiving the lustful gaze of people, and people then think that's just what sexual energy is. That sexual energy for a woman is her ability to receive the male gaze. How disempowering is it for a woman to believe their own sexual energy is dependent on the degree to which they receive the male gaze? What is that? That's the most self-defeating version of feminism I've ever seen, that my sexual energy depends on males validating me and giving me a gaze so I can then boost my status as a sexual woman. Fuck no. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Your sexual energy as a woman should be dependent on it coming from yourself, from your ability to create art, to create beauty, to create love. That's real sexual energy that comes from women, not from the male gaze. Like, fuck that shit. Women who are mistaken to believe that exuding sex and lust is the sexual energy that they need to be expressive, that shit is a dark shadow portal to keep yourself under the patriarchal spell of male validation, because your existence, your sexual energy, your sex is creation. Your creative life force energy is dependent on male validation. That shit is the patriarchy. Women who are overtly hot and sexy and receiving male validation all the time, they're playing into the fucking trap because their self-worth depends on male validation. Now, I'm sure there's some women who just do it because they like being sexy and they don't want to shame their bodies. That's different. I get that. But for the most part, if you're a woman who's posting suggestive pictures just to receive male validation, you're playing into the hands of fucking grotesque men. Watch out. It's true. You may think I'm being, hard on people, but it's just the truth. And it pains me to see women thinking they're being feminine and divine and sexual and being liberated when all they're doing is placing their need for male validation on a pedestal unconsciously. Again, the divine feminine exudes unconditional love from within without a need for validation from men. The patriarchy wants to destroy this, and it's an unconscious force, sadly, that will make women think they're being empowered and divine by being super sexual, but then they're playing into their hands because these women then require male validation for their own self-worth, when in reality that should not be a fucking question. Your own self-worth as a woman should always come from your own ability to create love, period. Now, the question here becomes, there has to be some component of physical sex in sexual energy. And this is where it gets really complicated. So let me explain. Think about this. Think of, you're on a date and there's a super sexy man in front of you. You just want to, I don't know what that's like as a woman. I'm not gay. But just think of a super sexy man on a date, right? Is that man half naked, not wearing clothes, flexing his muscles? Fuck no. You're probably picturing that guy with, a little bit of stubble, button-down shirt, little open, present gaze. That's revealing, right? That like a man who makes you feel sexually alive and sexually attractive is a man who, it has nothing to do with how he's dressed or how physically sexual he may seem. That guy who's like shirtless and flexing and doing like sexy faces, that guy is usually gay or very feminine. Speaking from experience, like when I was super into like posting, flexing, all this stuff, I was just very feminine guy. I wasn't strong in my masculine core. And whenever I do those things sometimes, I know I'm not being a man. So a true sexy man, let me explain it to you. If you're on a date, the guy's pretty attractive. He's wearing a button-down shirt, black shirt, jeans, whatever. But you feel him penetrating your energy with aliveness, presence, and humor. His energy is penetrating you. His gaze is penetrative. You feel him penetrating your aura. You feel him on you. That's sexy. That guy could be wearing whatever, but that energy is what makes the female sexual energy turn on. Okay, why I'm saying this is women love the idea of a double standard, and this is a double standard. It's the same for women. Female sexual energy has nothing to do with what they're wearing, right? A woman could be sitting in front of me. She can be super sexually suggestive and revealing, or not, and her sexual energy has nothing to do with her clothes and her appearance. Zero. Just like for men. Women think, oh, this woman's so sexual because she's being suggestive. Fuck no. It has literally nothing to do with it, and the same for men. It's an energy. Sexual energy is an energy. It has nothing to do with your physicality. It's an energy. Women have been sadly convinced for ages that their sexuality, liberated, is that they can be revealing and show it. And I understand that women were not able to do that in the past. That's fucked up. You should wear whatever you want. And that's different than thinking that because I'm now being revealing that my sexual energy is alive. Because a man who's revealing It has nothing to do with his sexual energy being turned on. A male's sexual energy is activated when he's penetrating the feminine energetically. And a woman's sexual energy is turned on when she's receiving the energy of the man. What female sexual energy really is that when you're on a dynamic with a man, and this man is penetrating your aura, your energy with his presence, his sternness, his directness, his playfulness, his energy is just penetrating you. He's really with you. He's seeing you. He's there. Think about this. If a guy was on a date and his gaze was all over the place, he was like frantic, he was moving fast, he wasn't like direct with his language, you would not feel him as a man. But if that same man was, boom, I'm here with you, I'm penetrating your aura, I'm giving you all that I have right now, you are all my intention, I'm with you, I'm not thinking about myself, I'm on you. That man is sexy. That's James Bond. That's that archetype. Literally, I am penetrating you with all that I have. I'm giving you all my energy and attention because it's all about you, because I am attracted to you. I'm with you. I'm penetrating your aura. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I see you. Penetration. I see you. Period. If a woman doesn't feel like a man's doing that, she won't feel a sexual energy turned on. So on the other end of that, if a woman's receiving that energy from the man, that's her sexual energy, is receiving that penetrative, overwhelming, I'm with you, I see you, my heart's with you, I'm giving you all that I have, receiving it and transmuting it as joy. That's a sexual exchange. Male penetration, female receives, transmutes it as playing joy. That's what it is. So can you truly receive that energy from the masculine, the healthy masculine, receive it energetically and give birth to a joyous, loving experience? When a woman is on a really good date, the man is penetrating her aura, her energy with his presence, his heart. He's feeling her. He's seeing her. And the woman's receiving that energy and transmuting it into laughter, into joy, into play. That exchange is a good date. And that depends on the man being present, seeing her for everything that she is, and the woman receiving that and transmuting it into love, into play, into joy. That exchange is sexual polarity at its finest. So once you realize that this is your real sexual energy, to receive and to give birth to love and joy, you realize it has nothing to do with your physical expression. Shadow women need male validation to feel sexually activated. The divine feminine never does. She knows it comes from within. What's the most empowering form of feminism in my eyes? It's showing women that their sexual energy does not need men or male validation. It comes from within them, in their ability to receive life and transmute it artistically as a way to express themselves fully. That is female sexual energy, not dressing provocatively to receive the lust of men. That's not what female sexual energy is, and that's what keeps the patriarchy running. When you stop believing that your sexual energy is dependent on the lustful validation of men, however, and rather it depends on your ability to receive life and transmute it into joyous playing expression and feeling and creation, you stop attracting in fuckboys who only want you for your sex. Women constantly complain about attracting in fuckboys. It's literally a common complaint I hear all the time. Let's get real. When you lead with your sexuality, when you lead with your need for male validation, and that's what you're giving to the marketplace, I want validation for my sexuality and my physicality, of course you're going to attract in men who only want that to give that to you. When you're leading with your sexuality as a woman, when you're leading with the need for validation, you will get validation from a man who only cares about your physicality. If you want men to use you sexually, only lead with your physicality and your sexuality, not your internal ability to create love. Once a woman shifts her strategy from being sexy to being loving, beautiful, transmuting to create joy, that's when she stops attracting in the fuckboys. When a woman realizes that her female sexual energy is her own ability to lead with her divine creative process of enjoying, loving, beauty, she will receive it back. Think about this. A fuckboy, a lustful man, only wants sex. So he will go for women who want validation for their sex, their physicality, their hotness. That's an exchange that both parties are taking part in. However, a good, strong man sees the divine feminine before he wants to have sex. He sees what's your capacity to create art, to create beauty, to create joy, to live in your heart, to receive life, to receive my penetrative gaze, to receive my vision of your heart. Once a man puts that first, now a woman puts that first, that's when a divine union is created. But when a woman leads with sex, she'll get a man who only wants sex. When a woman leads with her heart, she'll get a man who only wants her heart. Let a man in your heart before you let him in your pants. Period. That is the divine feminine energy. Want a man to see her heart before he sees her vagina. That's the truth. So for a woman thinking, I want a guy to see my vagina first, he's not seeing your heart. Make the man see your heart first, then your vagina, and that's when you'll attract in a good man. Another point I'll make is real men receive beauty and seek beauty. Boys receive and seek hotness. When a woman is beautiful, think of a beautiful woman, it's an energy. A beautiful woman and a hot woman are both attractive per se, but they're very different because a beautiful woman is a woman who understands her feminine, divine feminine energy stems from her ability to exude love, to exude joy, to receive life and not block it and reject it. That is a beautiful woman. A beautiful woman is a woman who receives life and transmutes it as a joyous, loving demeanor and whose heart is fully open. That's a beautiful woman. A hot woman is a woman who needs male validation and male attention to feel empowered. And men will then seek hot women to take part in that exchange. I only see you for your hotness. She wants to be seen for her hotness, so they have a physical exchange. That's a hot woman. A hot woman only wants validation from men. A beautiful woman doesn't want validation from men because she knows her own validation comes from her ability to be in her heart. So, are you being beautiful or are you being hot? Think about that. As a woman, am I being hot and needing male validation sexually, or am I being beautiful and exuding that from within in my heart? To conclude, once you turn on the unconditional love you have for yourself, receive life as it comes to you, and birth out that reception as a creative process, your female sexual energy has turned all the way on. Again, this has nothing to do with showcasing your sexuality physically. You can do that. Feel free to wear whatever the fuck you want, but just know that your sexual energy has nothing to do with that. If you're a woman and you want to dress sexy and wear provocative clothing, great, fine. But just know it has nothing to do with your real sexual energy. And if you're doing it to try and exude that, that's the wrong game. Sure, do that. But the right game is if you want to be sexy, allow yourself to receive life, to be in your heart, and then exude that. If you're doing that, great. Wear whatever the fuck you want. That's real sexual energy. You can have two women wearing the same exact outfit, the hot outfit. The woman who is receiving life, being feminine in her heart, is the real sexy woman. The woman who's just doing it for male validation is the shadow, the darker sexy woman. You can dress to feel sexy. I'm not saying don't do that, but just know that if it's done to receive male validation, you've burned away your feminine energy and you've not empowered yourself. So I think the real empowerment for women in this feminism age should be about empowering the divine feminine sexual energy to receive life and create joy and beauty for yourself as a woman, for the feminine, not for the validation of men. Period. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch more content, please click this video right here and don't forget to subscribe right here. Thank you.